Thank you, everyone. There was a bit of technical glitch in between. Thanks for being patient, and we are running shortly behind our schedule, so we'll start lunch just after this panel. Moving forward, now let's zoom out to the bigger picture. Omnichannel orchestration, CTV's role in the broader media mix. Now, this panel will explore how CTV fits into an integrated media strategy alongside DOH, mobile, and social. Please welcome our next set of thought leaders. First up, we have Tarun Chauhan, Integrated Media Lead, Philips, Nikita Malhotra, Global Head of Digital, Woodland, Mohit Gupta, GM Marketing at Bharti Airtel, Gaurav Soni, Head of Media, Perfetti, Melle, and Sahil Rawal, Vice President, Brand Product Platform Marketing, Max Life Insurance. And this panel will be moderated by Rahul Singh, Senior Director, Business Development at the Trade Desk. Let's hear it for the panel. Everyone, please give a warm round of applause for the next panel. I know you all are hungry, but we'll wrap this panel.
Hello. Hi guys, can you hear us good? Awesome. Good afternoon everyone, and thank you for all the fellow panelists. We've been told that we have to wrap it up in 30 minutes, so we'll keep it short and interactive. But I think before I begin, I want to kind of, first of all, thank you. You represent all amazing brands, brands that I've personally used. Although the frequency of it might change from, Gaurav's brand of Perfetti products we use daily, to maybe Nikita, your shoes are really good in quality, maybe, once a year, you go out. Sahil, I think yours would be once a year, especially during the financial year closing. And Tarun, I mean, yeah, really, really good lasting products. So I think 2.5, 3 odd years is the frequency of buying. Mohit, I'll not leave you out. I think yours is mostly I get reminded of during international travels. It's seamless. It kind of gets clicked in, one button. You can buy the roaming pack. I love the fact that you kind of, club a lot of countries together. So it's like just a two-step process. I probably do it after the security. Yeah, it works seamlessly. And I'm sure all the people in the audience are using your products as well. I want to set up a bit of context from a CTV, market perspective and how it's grown, right? I think from an India market standpoint, 70% of households are still linear, and we can't take out linear. But CTV is the new kid on the block. It's growing at a CAGR of 47%. I think as of 2022, the devices were about 18 odd million. Now it's about 45 odd million, and it's like projected to grow to about 50 to 60 odd million by 2025 end, right? It's a huge growth. From an advertising spend perspective, we've been told, and this is, a report from KPMG, that the advertising spend by 2025 on CTV alone is going to be 2,500 crores, which is close to 400 odd million dollars, right? Now, with that broad context, there are reasons why CTV is growing so well, right? Number one being affordability. The CTV devices have really, come down in pricing, with the cheapest model probably starting at 20,000, 25,000 with the smaller screen. The second is broadband wired penetration in India. So it's making its growth across, not just top metros, but across. And third is, of course, people, all of us, moving towards scheduled viewing, right? Like, which kind of people want to watch their own content, not depend on, this show is going to come only on Friday at 8 p.m., which is the linear TV problem, right? With that, I will first, set the context for this panel, right? We'll divide it into two parts. Number one is going to be, with your different categories, how are you using CTV? And the second part is going to be how does CTV kind of play in your media mix, right? With that, Tarun, I'll start with you. For a tech and appliance brand like yourself, which, where relevance matters, how do you see CTV complementing traditional and digital media and creating a full funnel impact? I think you'll have to flip the switch.
Check. Yeah. Thank you so much. So first of all, first thing first, thank you for having me here and sharing this stage with such great minds and some few good old friends as well. To your question, yes, CTV does play a very crucial or important role in each funnel stages, at least now. We at Philips are now actually completely now moved from traditional to digital, to be very honest. But to answer your question, yes, it does impact the top of the funnel activity, especially when your TV reach starts to diminish, stagnant. CTV gives you an incremental reach with lesser cost, so which brings efficiency also in the same page. And CTV will definitely grow. I'm not saying that it will outgrow linear TV, but it will come neck to neck in few years. And there's enough and more data to validate this. So, for example, and I think that CTV and linear TV is a similar sort of a format when it comes to viewing. So it's a household medium. It's large scale, large screen. It is a laid back medium. On the top of this, CTV gives you less cluttered environment and better completion rates. So people tend to switch in linear TV, which is not happening currently with CTV. So it's giving you a VTR of 80 plus, 90% plus. So having said that, CTV definitely will be a new linear TV in future. I'm not sure when, 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years down the line. But yes, it will grow. It will outgrow TV in 15, 20 years, definitely. And there's a reason, enough and more data to prove this. For example, the internet penetration in India is around 900 million plus. A few panelists says that the smart TV penetration in India is growing. And look at the affordability. You can buy a smart TV in like 10, 12,000 these days. So I'll quickly share an anecdote on this. So like I said, in Philips, we do a lot of CTV campaigns. Last month when we did a CTV campaign, it's YouTube CTV. We thought let's not put a filter of geo onto this because it's anyway going to deliver in top 15 and 20 cities only. So we keep it pan-India. And when we got the result, we have seen 65% plus impressions actually got burned in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which is like your, Darbhanga, Dibrugarh, Agra, Mathura, Sonipat, which clearly indicates that CTV is also going to cater into the masses. But there's a difference. When I say masses, it's AVOD model. SVOD is still little skewed towards metro, for now at least. But it tells you that CTV is very important for top of the funnel activities. For mid, I think yes, we have the targeting possibilities. We have demo, we have geo. You can target specific content. You can retarget the audience. You can target the viewer in second screen, QR codes and whatnot. So that's pretty much possible. We are doing this at Philips regularly. Bottom of the funnel, I still have some reservations, honestly. Like I think previous panelists also said. There's a scope, there's a headroom to grow in the bottom of the funnel. While we do retargeting, we put QR codes, there's a brand uplift we saw while we do CTV campaigns. But for me, till the time you're not tracking the funnel end to end, it's not bottom of the funnel. So I think there's a scope. So yes, the bottom line would be CTV actually creates a harmonized media, efficient media ecosystem, which not only drives awareness, it nurtures consideration, and it supports conversion. It's not completely giving you conversion till the time it's not measurable. I'm sure few of the TTD is working on some model. Google DV360 is working on some model. Hotstar is also working on some attribution model with HUL, if I'm not wrong. So we are there, but it'll take some more time. And on all my 2 cents are CTV will be a new linear TV.
Definitely, Tarun, totally agree with that. I think before I quickly move to Nikita, I wanted to just double click on one of the points that you said. Yeah. You said you did not apply any geo filter to your campaigns. Yep. And they were like, consumptions happening across India.
Across the
did you take any action post of that? Did those markets become an important market for you to kind of have presence?
Those were not our P1 markets, honestly. We thought that, so we as a category, we have the target audience is like top 20 cities, right? So we thought let's keep it open. Because at the end of the day, it's going to deliver in top 20 cities only. Why to increase the CPMs, putting filter? So we ran it like that, and our 65% plus impressions actually got burned, which are not our priority markets even.
Awesome. Thanks, Tarun. Nikita, yours is a lifestyle and retail brand. So I want to understand, how do you leverage CTV in your omni-channel strategy to drive footfalls and maybe conversions?
So, firstly, hi, I know everybody's hungry. I promise there is something to take away from this panel, so bear with us. When it comes to omni-channel, especially in the industry and the brand that I work with, we have 380 physical stores for you to kind of visit. And I am a firm believer as a marketer and in general as a human that you're never going to be able to get a fish to fly. So I am aware, and we're all aware, that CTV currently isn't at a point in its evolution that you're going to click and then the sale's going to happen right there. So what we did was, we used CTV to actually drive footfall by making sure that the stores that we were looking at, and this is a live example very recently done, stores that was not seeing enough footfall, stores that were new, unke pin code dale and ran an ad. And we made sure that the times were also aligned to men viewing hours, because Woodland predominantly is a male skew, 85+% men buy Woodland. Women, we have a lot of stuff for women, but men buy it. So we did that. And when it comes to how we did that, we went a step further to make it truly omni-channel. And this is damn creepy, so follow me on this. Your connected TV is connected to your router. Your phone's connected to your Wi-Fi, which is also connected to your router. Now my ad knows that you were viewing the connected TV because your phone was connected. I have your device ID. I'm retargeting you with the same ad when you're possibly around my store again. And the QR code issue that was being discussed recently, the QR code was available throughout the 45 odd seconds that the ad was running. And it didn't open to a microsite or something on your phone. It showed you the location. So it opened up Google Maps, showed you where the closest thing was. We saw an uplift in footfall, and we monitored that. So it did work. Did they convert or not? We're not evolved enough to know right now. But that's how we did kind of an omni-channel campaign. Even though I lead digital, retail is a big part of our business, and we were able to kind of do an omni-channel campaign this way.
Interesting. Thanks, Nikita. I think that's a right way to measure. Although, while we know this from a marketing domain, a lot of consumers find this creepy when you say, you showed an ad on CTV, and
oh, for sure.
we will show you the ad on a mobile device also, especially when you're near the store. I just want to check on one thing.
My family was scared. My family was like, what are you doing?
What are you doing, right?
You're stalking your customers.
100%. I just want to check, when you spoke about, using the data pin codes from your stores, and CTV is still about, I would say, 25 million devices. Did you struggle with scaling those campaigns?
It was a POC for us. And as I could not determine the sale, we did not pick it up, but it was an interesting thing to do. And as soon as it ramps up, we will probably scale. And to talk a little bit to your previous conversation that was going on, the cheapest TV actually is 7,999, which is smart. So it's quite cheap. And there are also converters that are in the market that are converting your linear TVs into smart TVs, which are now, I think, anywhere from 1,200 to about 2,000 bucks. As soon as someone figures out how to target those boxes, and that becomes an OEM that's available to you to target, suddenly your penetration is going to go way, way deeper. The scalability tab aayegi.
For sure. Thanks, Nikita. Mohit, moving on to you. I think you are a high-touch, high-frequency brand, like I was mentioning earlier, a fan of Airtel Black, by the way. I just want to know, how do you leverage CTV to kind of, have an approach where there are multiple digital points which matter to you, right, especially mobile. How do you marry CTV, mobile, and other digital touch points to drive engagement with your set of consumers?
Uh, Hi, everyone. So, Rahul, in Airtel's context, I think everything starts from a scale conversation, right? We are today serving almost more than one third of the country, and the remainder is the target audience. So, in all that, when we do the maths of 800, 900 million internet users, etc., and when we look at the CTV number, yes, the number might look a certain fragment percentage of the overall base. But when we cut this down by specific lines of business or propositions, so to say, let's say a Airtel Black or a postpaid, then something like a CTV surface becomes, of a much more importance, because then in that audience, the fragment share is almost like a 50% or a 60%. On the contrary, there are other lines of business which are catering to, somewhat I would say aspirer audiences, where apparently CTV actually totally becomes a negation. Like whosoever is on CTV, we do not want to actually reach out to those audiences. For example, today broadband as a category, and this is something that we've seen over time, in a house, a CTV and a broadband entry is almost happening at the same time. Right. It's tough to say really that, which is leading first, but if a house has broadband CTV, then a very high probability that it will also have a broadband connection. And today in the category, because the category penetration is very low, so it's all about, getting new market share rather than acquisition. So for something like a broadband category for us, CTV actually makes no sense at all, really, in today's context from a business aspect. But something like international roaming or a Airtel Black is where CTV becomes our first I would say base level mode of deployment, because we know this is where my core TG is sitting. Yes, there could be other touch points also, but everything has a spillage, and no matter whatever signal efficacy we would say, there are spills everywhere. So which is why our best foot forward is on the CTV surfaces.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is for your high-end products, maybe that is where CTV, because it's premium, makes more sense than other digital touchpoints. Gaurav, moving to you, I think in the FMCG space, especially the category that you're operating in, right, high burst attention is important, right? How do you use CTV to help amplify the message in short bursts? How is it working for you?
Hi. CS media is evolving. We have observed there's a trend in consumers' journey. They are not believing in channels, but they are believing in experiences. For example, they want to watch their favorite show on a smart TV. They may be scrolling stories on their phone. They may be watching billboards on their way to work, but their attention is fleeting. They're not attentive at all while watching whatever stuff they're watching on digital or on television. That's the main challenge which we as a category is also facing. A typical brands these days are not just fighting for eyeballs or for reach. I think that's given. In today's scenario, reach is not a challenge, but attention is. And I think CTV as a platform gives that kind of attention to advertisers and probably consumers also when we advertise a long form advertisements for our campaigns. At Perfetti, we observed when we activate a short format campaign, which obviously give us a lot of brand cues to the consumer, emotional connect, and which also drives action. CTV helps in bridging the gap between the power of storytelling with the precision of digital. And we at Perfetti always believes in storytelling communication rather than doing a lot of short form content. In a typical FMCG category, especially confectionery, which is bombarded always, which is always on, which is very high frequency, low involvement category where attention is fleeting, CTV marries the power of digital and brings back the storytelling of television which used to happen some years ago. In one of our campaigns, which is happening, we activated short burst of 6 and 15-second commercial on mobile video, which drove us a lot of reach and engagement. But when we activated CTV, we saw a 25% increase in our VTRs and about 12% increase in our aided brand recall. So that's how CTV is helping navigate that bridge of short form content, bringing storytelling, and probably consumer attention, which is also resulting in our measurability and probably improving our post-campaign analysis.
Interesting, Gaurav. So I think when it's about storytelling, large screen formats do definitely matter, which are being watched across the family in the room. I think that's what is important for you, right?
It is, yeah, and we also get a lot of consumer insights, and we change our creative delivery based on the insights we get from, let's say, a lot of consumer researches we do probably on CTV households. Today, we are going to launch a 90-second commercial. I think in these days, nobody does a 90-second commercial, but we are launching it. It's already launched today. And CTV, I think, is a perfect fit to do such commercials.
Thanks, Gaurav. Sahil, I'll move to you. I think in your category, which requires a lot of insurance, right? It requires a lot of trust and education. How do you leverage CTV, to kind of build your brand narrative across platforms, social, web, and mobile? What role does CTV play for you as a category?
First of all, thank you, Rahul, and thank you, the team, to have called us for a nice discussion. There are always advantages and disadvantages of talking last. Advantage is obviously you have to talk less. Disadvantage is almost all the top points have been taken. But yeah, just to give a perspective of the category that I belong to, which is life insurance. See, life insurance, obviously what you mentioned, there is a huge amount of trust deficit. And where it comes from, trust deficit is because one, this entire piece of paying money to a company where you won't get any instant gratification. Imagine, मतलब मैं पैसा आज दे रहा हूँ, मुझे पता नहीं when the consumption is going to happen because, and I'm not there to even see that, right? So there is a lot of distrust because of that. To top it up, there is also a lot of product complexity. I mean, we as Indians do understand FDs. We as Indians do understand savings accounts. We don't understand, complex products like life insurance as much as we like to. Then the journey itself, because of the guidelines and the regulations, it's fairly long, right? And hence, those kind of human interaction that used to kind of be there earlier are not possible in a D2C environment that we see today. And hence, because of this all trust deficit, it really becomes important for us as advertisers to look at emotional storytelling, what Gaurav was also mentioning. Emotional storytelling at least helps me build that trust over a long period of time. And secondly, on the media side, of course, there is also a need to kind of look at credible mediums that can actually help deliver the message, land the message well, which is where linear TV and print used to come earlier on. Obviously, there are advantages of now the measurability that come into place, and hence the CTV kind of takes that place. There are other advantages of the CTV ecosystem as well, is what I mentioned. Because of the emotional storytelling nature of the advertisement, you also want the audience to be relaxed, when they are basically viewing the ad. And hence, CTV being the large screen, more immersive, gives me that kind of, audience which is more attentive and also open to long storytelling, right? So that's also an advantage that we've seen. Having said that, when it comes to scale, yes, there was a time that we said that CTV is still at nascent state. It is kind of evolving. As you mentioned, that 45-50 million of screens are there out there. There is definitely scale that's building up, but I think it's still at the top of the funnel kind of awareness building or consideration building that our brand uses CTV for. When it comes to middle and bottom of the funnel, yes, there is definite interactivity that's available with the CTV. But again, when you go back and look at the action-oriented platforms, we still depend more on the social media, for example, and programmatic, and even the customer engagement that we do with our MarTech platforms for kind of building that action at the end. So that's like large picture, the way our media mix is panned out.
For sure, Sahil. I think yours is a sensitive category, as I would say. You cannot be too salesy when you're selling insurance. I just want to check, you said, of course, linear is important, and, for your high-end products, a little more education where people are educated in the premium category, CTV makes more sense, especially for your high-end products. What is your mix between linear and CTV spends right now?
So I'd say a large part is still on the linear. There are certain specific segments, because linear also gives me a high level of affinity. As Tarun was mentioning, CTV does kind of, at an earlier stage, used to promise an affluent audience, an audience that's only in the top cities. But I think it's now moving out. It's spanning across the country. There are tier 2, tier 3 markets where you find easily, CTVs are accessible, and hence that audience scale is what I want to build. An affluent, top city kind of behavior still comes to me from the LTV, but there are certain specific affinities that I'm moving towards, the CTV. So largely, things, the platforms like movies are moving towards CTV. So if you were to just kind of ask for a ratio, there is still a 90-10 kind of a ratio. But as we see in future, we are going to increase that.
Interesting, Sahil. Tarun, I'm going to come back to you. Have you explored synchronizing CTV with other channels like a DOH or a e-commerce, and how has it impacted your consumer decision making, if at all?
Honestly, we have actually not used it in full capacity yet. We are working on it. But although we have optimized and executed few things in bits and pieces lately, so we actually did a campaign during IPL in digital out of home. So all the restaurants, gyms, all those Gen Z's hotspot, where we ran a contest and for an engagement in social media. And we got a decent result out there. But we still need to stitch together with the sales and e-commerce, which is yet to be done. So I'll keep it short. For e-com also, we do a lot of CTV during the sales periods, all your big billion days, prime days. We do a lot of CTV because for a brand like Philips, where 60% of the sales comes from e-com, it's very important for us to ride on those event days. So we do a lot of campaigns, we put QR code, offers, discount, and we get decent traffic out there. But I think there's a lot of other things which need to be done. From a unified messaging and content strategy piece, because to cater all those touch points, to synchronize everything, that is yet to be done, we are exploring. And I think from next month onwards, when Prime Video also starts selling their inventory, it will be very crucial for us to marry both e-com data and Prime Video inventory to get the best result of it, because we are an e-com brand, honestly. Yes. So we are hoping that we'll do it in future soon.
Interesting, Tarun. And of course, as the media landscape evolves and more players enter, I think it'll be easier to marry, different channels with CTV. Nikita, I'm going to come to you next. I think, storytelling is important for all marketers, right? And how do you marry CTV to kind of dynamically adjust to context, maybe, with regards to seasonality or regions, to make sure it's part of your media mix as well?
So the beauty of how digital in general has evolved, where there used to be that one brand film back in the day where it was, the Omnichannel was your halls and your TV, and then a snapshot of that going into your newspapers. Now there are several cuts, and I think Priyanka also had mentioned in a previous thing that they have nodes. And we do a similar thing. We have nodes that we cut out from videos to ensure that we target the right audience. And we won't do it with language specifically. That obviously stands to reason is an easier way to do it. That, you go to the south, you use the language. You go north, use that language. But something that Woodland specifically does is sticks to English on digital. It's a conscious choice because that's how the brand wants to be perceived. So then what happens is the products that you see in our ads will change from what is shown in a Goa versus what is shown in a Himachal versus what is shown in Delhi, so on and so forth. The beauty is that Woodland, unlike most fashion brands out there, isn't fast fashion. Our products that sell well are actually perennial products. It is the same silhouette of boot, and it's by design because our customers want that legacy silhouette on their foot because it's recognizable. It's similar to, and I'm ex-Adidas, so I can say, it's similar to you will see a Samba or an Ultra Boost, and you'll be like, haan, ye, I can recognize that. Same as with Woodland. You will see that boot and you will know. So because of that, what happens for us is every year the storytelling might change, but the products are the same. So the connection in the audience's mind is easier to build. Unlike telling a fresh story every year and getting the customer onto, the new, like this time it's mosaic or this time it's florals or whatever, it becomes easier. To the question that you have, which is how do we change, it's more the product. Because we realize that when we're looking at Goa, we are going to be pushing shorts and sandals, obviously, and not our heavy boots. And when we're looking at the mountainside or something like that, then it'll be the heavier boots and the rucksacks that we're selling. That's how we change. Nothing more than that.
No, interesting. I think just keeping it simple is always good because I think consumers are simple as well. Although marketers want to cut them in different shapes and forms.
So it's interesting that you say that because most of the time, what I've realized is the more we can, track everything, the more we start looking at it from the brand's perspective. And someone said it very beautifully that customer-centric is what are you telling to the customer? Customer, kya sun raha hai aapki brand se? So if it doesn't need to be complicated, don't complicate it. If it can be simple, just keep it simple.
100%. I'm a fan of simplicity myself. Mohit, I'm going to move to you. I think with multiple campaigns running across different digital formats, how do you measure the success? How do you measure the effectiveness of CTV in your media mix?
So Rahul, for this, while there's no, I would say, one singular pristine way, but over time we have done, different kinds of experimentations and seen. Now, for example, there could be a phasing-based, approach where you deploy maybe some of the CTV surfaces first as a part of your campaign. Then you track the movement and then you activate some of the, the larger pieces of your campaign and see what's the delta. So now you have a baseline, okay, what is CTV surfaces offering? Secondly, we also, acutely track consumption both from, let's say, what is the reach planner showing, etc. How many audiences at a quarterly level, etc. are moving to a smaller CTV, to a bigger CTV surface versus on mobile. So that's another way to see, okay, what kind of a planning needs to be done in order to get the result. Thirdly, sometimes we also push out differentiated comms or maybe certain QR-based things. While in all honesty, never a great believer or fan of QR-based things, very limited traction, but still it tells you what could be the potential. You have to make your messaging work harder, you have to make your proposition work harder. That is how you'll be able to, get really more conversions going, but at least it gives you a directional sense. And lastly, even we have a very robust brand track, which goes to thousands of Indians every week on week, and it's a rolling panel. So we also try to, capture some bit of source of awareness for campaigns through that brand track, overall consumption habits through that brand track, which also tells us, okay, yes, to what levels, CTV advertising is effective, and effective not just from a, I would say, reach delivery, but more from a recall delivery, because, attention in today's day and age is becoming of paramount importance, where we have seen it's to directionally say, like 3 impressions on a handheld device versus 1 impression on a CTV device would give you the similar recall ability.
Interesting. Thank you, Mohit. And taking cue from your last, pointed to me, Sahil, I'll come to you, and I'll go to Gaurav next. So, you have some points, and not going last. What role does personalization of CTV play in aligning with your CRM? I'm sure you have a huge database, right? How does personalization play for you when you kind of talk about CTV?
Thank you so much for not taking me last. So when it comes to personalization, I'll be honest, have we tried personalization on television, on CTV? The answer is yes. Have we been able to really crack the code of personalization on CTV? The answer is no. Because again, what I mentioned in my previous statement that when it comes to top of the funnel, the minute I try and go a little more audience segment wise, the CPM somehow kind of increase, and the eventual brand lift or kind of equivalent BSQ metrics do kind of take a hit. Kind of coming back to the bottom or mid funnel, I think all of us agree that bottom and mid funnel ke liye, probably CTV is not ready yet because it's not an action oriented kind of platform. However, as I mentioned, there are other ways of personalization that we've tried through our CRMs, through our mobile platforms, through programmatic, and even the customer engagement that we do. In fact, a super example that really worked well for us was because there are very limited moments in which a life insurance brand can reach out to you to kind of create urgency. There is one thing we did was that because we have onboarded Rohit Sharma as a celebrity, we would just give personalized birthday messages to people on their birthdays, near their birthdays, and also because your premium kind of goes up from 1 year to another as your age increases, and hence we were able to create those kind of urgencies. But again, all of that is pretty personal on the mobile device and not on the CTV, because I think in the previous panel also we mentioned that some of these things are too personal. No, mobile is a personal thing. CTV is still a family viewing. But yes, in the near future, in terms of segmentation, we will keep on trying with the way we've done for a long period of time in the programmatic as to what audiences will kind of be a little more action oriented in terms of when it comes to when served with the right kind of messaging. So we have our categories. There is pure term insurance. There is retirement kind of people who will who are looking for an early retirement. There is also an audience that is just looking to save tax at the end of the year. So those kind of segmentations with the kind of data affinity mapping that we have is something that we are trying, and once we are able to crack it, I'm sure the scale is going to go up only.
Thanks, Sahil. That's really interesting. Gaurav, coming to you. Have you uncovered any interesting consumer insights or behaviors when you're advertising on CTV, which has made you change or optimize your media mix?
See, as a medium to advertise, CTV is a great medium. But if you read the data correctly and if you deep down into the data, CTV acts as a lens into consumer household. You get to know what's exactly happening in that household. And you also get to change your digital day part delivery and sometimes creative optimization for a particular campaign. And CTV has also taught us that it is not about channel first, it is about audience first. It's about omni-channel planning. And when you do an audience first approach, it is not which platform or medium perform better. It is about how they all perform together. For example, for one of the campaigns for Happy Dent, we observed that on CTV, in particular genres like comedy and light entertainment, the viewership goes up after 10 p.m. And we don't used to advertise generally after 10 p.m. We particularly changed our digital day parting and also sort of some creative delivery so that we can advertise to our consumers after 10 p.m. because Happy Dent as a brand is post-meal consumption brand. So our messaging was specifically to people who are watching post 10 p.m. And it also drove us a lot of great VTRs. Typically, in case of Alpenlibe, it is a family first brand. So we used to activate TV first and then digital after. But specifically for Alpenlibe, we activated CTV first because we got an insight that CTV is a household phenomena, especially in tier 1 markets. And we changed our comms to family values and sharing. We activated CTV first, then TV, and then mobile video. Through our brand tech reports, and BLS studies, we saw 11% increase in the emotional connect of our consumers and 4 points increase in the purchase to intent for the full funnel consumers. So it is not about reaching more, it is about reaching right. Reach is good, relevance is great, but when they both come together, it's a game changer for us.
Amazing, Gaurav. I mean, first of all, I love how marketers think about, going day parting, certain demographics and changing your messaging accordingly. This question was not part of the panel, but I think I just need a 10-second take from all of you, right? Like largely TV viewing, including linear and CTV is considered as family viewing, scheduled viewing, the entire family is watching. But now the trend is also towards, people having multiple devices in their homes. So is it really, individual singular viewing of the content that you like because people have, CTVs in their own different bedrooms, they are like typically moving from 3 to 4 devices? Or do you still consider CTV as a
pressing the up button on their TV and watching shots, and it is a very large impression volume. So I think it really depends on if you're watching, let's say, an IPL match or an entertainer piece or mass piece, maybe a family-driven viewing opportunity. But largely when you might look at some of the S-word pieces or short-form pieces, could be individual pieces. We will have to decipher, but it's a mixed trend in my view.
Got it. Nikita, Sahil, any last thoughts?
Do you
before
wanna
we
go
wrap this up.
first? Then I'll go last.
Thank you so much. I think what Gaurav mentioned, I completely agree with that. It also depends on the kind of content, because there will be certain series of content on the SVOD that I would watch possibly with my kids and wife, or there will be a match, a cricket match live that I'm watching alone. But I think what is important is that in comparison to a mobile, it is still, if not active viewing, it will still be a passive viewing, and hence we would like to believe that it's still a relatively more skewed towards family viewing and less towards again a single one-to-one kind of viewing. So which kind of helps in the life insurance category, because as I mentioned earlier also, is that while there was a time that life insurance purchases were largely male driven, but I think from lately we've seen that women also kind of influence the decision, and which is kind of important for us also, and we've tailored our messages also kind of to deliver to a family viewing largely. So it really helps, yeah.
Awesome. With women influencing decisions, Nikita, I think it's obvious that you should close the call.
Long and short of what I'd like to say on the matter is that there's no, obviously, till we get tracking or smarter TVs or touchscreen TVs, there's no possible way of knowing whether one person's watching it, two people are watching it. The way the family trends are going with nucleus, etc., more often than not, it'll be that one person watching and someone else doing something else around them, passively or not, because there are a lot of single people living out there on their own as well. However, there's an educated guess that one might take that post-dinner, it is highly likely that the husband and wife are watching stuff together, right? So if you've taken a band of OEM, then you can say that theek hai, is price point pe jo khareed raha hai, probably married, has kids, does not have kids, whatever. So that's one way of figuring it out, maybe. But I go in with the assumption of one person is watching it. I don't go in with the assumption. Jo aage hai, wo it's ghee upar se.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikita. And I think all of you were really amazing. Loved the insights that you shared. And thank you again for being part of this interactive session. Thanks, Rahul and Agency Reporter, for having this amazing session. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you to all the panelists, and I would request everyone to please remain on stage and request Rahul Puri to hand over the token of appreciation. Everyone, please give a warm round of applause for this insightful discussion that we just had.